All right, today we're going to talk about one of the internet's oldest pieces of technology, FTP, the File Transfer Protocol. It was the original workhorse that literally built the connected world we live in. But now, well, now it's kind of like a ghost in the machine, and it's haunting us with some pretty serious security risks. So let me just ask you this. Is your data right now traveling on a digital ghost ship? It sounds like a weird question, I know. But trust me, by the end of this, you're going to understand exactly why it's such a critical thing to ask. Because this old tech, it's still out there, just silently floating through our networks. Okay, so let's get into it. To really get a handle on the danger, you first have to understand why FTP was such a game changer. We've got to go way back to the early days of the internet, a time when just getting two different computers to share a simple file was a total nightmare. You see, FTP showed up to solve some really basic but huge problems. I mean, back then you had all these computers with totally different operating systems. They just couldn't understand each other. If you wanted to share files, you were probably physically moving tapes or disks between machines, and trying to send anything big, it was a total gamble. FTP just swooped in like a hero and created this universal language for file sharing that, well, it just worked. So what is it really? At its heart, FTP is just a rulebook, a protocol that lets a client, say your computer, talk to a server to send or receive files. Simple as that. It became the standard, the very backbone that let the early collaborative web actually happen. And here's the clever bit, the part that's also key to its biggest flaw. FTP uses this unique two-channel system. Think of it like a phone call. The first line, the control channel, is for giving all the instructions. Hi, this is me, here's my username and password, I'd like to get that file, please. Then, a totally separate line, the data channel, opens up just to send the file itself. Separating the commands from the data was pretty smart, but it also created a massive, massive blind spot.
And this is where our story takes a really dark turn. This amazing tool that helped connect the entire world was built with a fatal flaw. No, it wasn't a huge deal back in the small, trusting academic world of the early internet. But today, in 2025, it is an absolute catastrophe. So here it is, the fatal flaw. Everything, and I mean everything, your username, your password, the actual data in your files is sent in plain, readable text, no encryption. It is the digital version of standing up in a crowded coffee shop and shouting your bank password out loud. Anyone who's listening in on the network can see it all.
And the consequences are, well, they're terrifying. With zero encryption, an attacker can literally just sniff your password right out of the air. They can jump into the middle of your file transfer, swap your legitimate file with malware, and guess what? You'd have no idea it even happened. FTP has no way to check if a file was tampered with. It's a total security nightmare. And look, this isn't some theoretical, old-school problem. The tech world is running away from plain FTP as fast as it possibly can. By 2025, pretty much every major cloud provider and web browser has finished ditching support for it entirely. Why? Because they know it's a wide-open door for attackers, a vulnerability we just can't risk anymore. But okay, it's not all doom and gloom. The story doesn't end in disaster. Smart people saw this problem coming a mile away and built some modern heroes to take FTP's place. So let's talk about how we can actually transfer files securely. So the two main replacements you'll hear about are FTPS and SFTP. Now, FTPS is basically the original FTP just wrapped in an encryption layer, kind of like how websites are secured. It works, but it uses multiple ports, which can make it a real headache for firewalls. Then you have SFTP. It's a completely different thing, built on top of the super secure SSH technology. It uses just one port, making it way simpler and much more robust. And for those reasons, it has absolutely become the preferred modern standard. All right, so knowing all of that, what should you actually do? This is your playbook for keeping your data safe. Because let's be real, just hoping for the best is not a security strategy. Here's your checklist. Number 1, and this is non-negotiable. Stop using plain FTP. Just phase it out completely. Make SFTP your default for everything. Then go a step further, lock down user access so people can only see their own folders. And you have to constantly scan your network for any old, forgotten FTP servers that might be lurking around. It's time to actively hunt down those ghosts. And the evolution doesn't even stop at SFTP. Today, we have even better, more integrated options. We transfer files securely right in our browsers using HTTPS. We use these powerful managed file transfer systems for big corporate jobs, and we interact directly with cloud storage using APIs. The world has definitely moved on. So let's be crystal clear about this. FTP was a pioneer, no question. It solved massive problems and helped build the amazing internet we all use today. You have to give it credit for that. But its time in the sun? Oh yeah, that's long over. Its design is just fundamentally broken for the security needs of today's world. Which brings us to one last, really important question for you to think about. FTP helped build the internet's past, for sure. But is that ghost ship of a protocol still sailing through your network, creating vulnerabilities that are going to haunt your future? Now you've got the playbook to make sure the answer is a firm no.